Hey Popverse, welcome to day 3 of Emerald City Comic Con 2026. I am so incredibly thrilled to be here with the one and only KYLE MACLACHLAN.
Oh, thank you.
Kyle, I cannot tell you how cool it is to be sitting here with you. Thank you so much to be joining us.
I am happy to be here, especially in green. I missed the memo on the outfit, so.
Oh,
I know. Emerald
City.
Yeah,
definitely. You might also notice some dog hairs on here. Okay, so obviously you have done so much incredible TV work, so much incredible film work. Right now, though, you are also working on your podcast. So if I can ask, kind of what was your interest? What was the thing that said kind of like, oh, this is something I should be doing?
Right.
Kind
why on earth are you doing a podcast? It started with an effort to better understand a younger generation, honestly. And I was, Gen Z was coming up, and I was working with some pretty creative people in a little thing called overcompensating, and I was really intrigued with what was happening, and I didn't really know any of the names or any of the people, and I felt bad about that. And I said, I've got to pay more attention to what's coming. I always spoke about my mentors being, an older generation of actors and creatives, and but I said I really need to look back and see what's happening. So I put together this podcast, and the sole goal is really to talk creative process with a couple of different generations, young millennial, Gen Z, and just go into some detail about, why and what and where and how. And I've really enjoyed the conversations. They're really just simple conversations, last for, we speak for about an hour, and then they cut everything down and make it kind of fun. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've had some really wonderful conversations. Kaya Gerber was one of my first guests ever. Bless her heart for being brave. Dylan O'Brien came on. I've had, just so many different guests. Caleb Heron was also a wonderful comedian. Benny Skinner, of course, who plays my son in Overcompensating, was on as well. And just conversations. I'm looking forward to getting Ella Purnell there, who I co-star with on Fallout as well. So that was really kind of an effort to understand a different generation.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge David Bowie fan, collaborator of yours, and he always had that thing about just always paying attention to kind of like what was coming up. So I feel like, is that something that draws you, just like, oh, this project is something that's maybe like a little bit of a distance from me? Is that attractive to you? Oh,
I think so. I was certainly starting off my career with David Lynch with Dune and Blue Velvet, and of course segueing to Twin Peaks, and then the return. David, we went into regions and worlds that were really compelling and interesting to me. But it's really I feel I'm more of a seeker than anything else. So, and really up for new challenges, new ideas, to boldly go where no one is going to. Bill Shatner is just next door, and of course he's a hero of mine. Don't tell him that. But anyway, I love him. But it's a little bit of that. Yeah, it's like I like trying new things, and again, that's another impetus for the podcast, which is I've never done this before. I don't even know if I can do it. But I said we'll give it a whirl, and I'll find my own way through, and really that's what's happened. It's a glorious, wonderful experience.
Yeah, great. You are also. Are you a new author? I mean, your book's coming out.
Yeah, I have a book. I have my memoirs coming out this fall, and it's I've had a couple of articles published various places, but this is like a full-on book, and I've really enjoyed the experience. I got to say, we kind of dive deep into some of my past roles and work that I've done, and then a little bit of some growing up history and times with my brothers and relationships, but it was a bit like therapy actually to go through, to go back and kind of dust off some of these old feelings, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, like you mentioned Fallout, and I do want to get to that in just a moment. But first, and no worries if you don't want to give any spoilers away,
Right.
but is there one thing you think will come from your book that your fans will be maybe surprised by?
Oh gosh. Well, we are going to go back for another season of Fallout. We're meant to start filming in June. No scripts. I haven't seen any material yet, but I'm excited for whatever they come up with. They've always surprised me, I think, in terms of the character development, the richness of the characters. They continue to evolve in really interesting ways. And I think this past season, Hank had a wonderful journey, and one that I was not expecting. You know, honestly, they are really, our creatives are so talented. So that was really fun, and we're going to go back to overcompensating again. I'm going to go back to Lowdown, well, with Ethan Hawke, who I really adore, and so looking forward to that experience. Sterling Harjo is our director of Lowdown, and he is just a gem, one of a kind, and I really enjoy working with him. So some things coming up that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So on Fallout, okay, so Fallout is, you know, before it was the TV show, it's this massive game franchise
Yeah.
with, you know, it's an empire of fans, right? And I know sometimes that, like, they say in the writer's room, there are essentially people there to be like, hey, you know, like, let's keep it in the lore, or let's kind of like,
Yeah.
did any of that make it to set? Like, were there people like,
Oh yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. The lore was really important.
Yeah.
From the top down. I mean, Jonah Nolan, creative, Graham Wagner, Geneva, Robertson were all, they really immersed themselves in the lore. Many of them were already, they played the game, they knew the game, and so they recognized quickly that it was important to be able to really live in that world, and also provide some fun Easter eggs that, you know, maybe just someone who's coming to the show who doesn't really familiar with the game wouldn't necessarily know, but gamers would be like, that's what that's about. So that was a really important part of their process. And whenever any of us in the cast, and I'm less familiar with the game, but if we had any questions, they would always kind of fill in the blanks for us.
Nice.
So we knew
Okay,
kind of
cool.
what was happening. Oh yeah, and the writing crew is around a great deal of the time while we're making it, in case we have any questions or any thoughts, or they have, because things come up and suggestions and ideas come up right in the process, on the day of filming. Sometimes there's little shifts and things that happen that you just don't expect. So they were always very available for that, and we, as cast members, really appreciate that. You know.
That sounds so intricate. So that must be a very smooth collaboration, like to be able to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, sometimes, you know, sometimes it's challenging, especially if you have to change something or be questioned about something. But everybody that's working on the show, you know, we're all professionals. We've done this for a long time. Walton's been around for a long time. I've been around for a long time. And so you just know how to shift and weave and bob and know what you need to do. And you know what the expectation is, too, for the day. And, you know, they got to get your day. And so, yeah, everyone's super professional.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Real quick before we move on from Fallout, I know you can't talk about specifics for season 3, but as you wrapped season 2, was there anything in your mind that you were like, I hope this gets answered. I hope I get to see this from X character, like heading into the next season?
So funny. No, I mean, I'm like, whatever I could think of, they're gonna manifest 10 times better than whatever I could imagine, and that's just the quality of the crew that we have. So I'm excited to read what they bring, you know, because I know the characters and the stories are going to develop and continue to develop in really interesting ways. And as an actor working on a series, that's really what you wish for and hope for. You know, the stuff that becomes difficult is when the character sort of stays in the same place and seems to be kind of caught in a little eddy, you know, on the side of a river for a while. And really what you want to be doing is you want to be at least going down the river. You can be floating or you can be going through rapids, but you at least want to be moving downstream.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So moving on from Fallout, I want to talk about Twin Peaks a little bit.
Yeah.
In between Fire Walk with Me and The Return, there's 25 years there before a return to Twin Peaks is confirmed. In those years, we
call those the lost years.
The lost years.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Those are the lost years.
During the lost years, were there discussions happening about, hey, how here's how we could bring this back? And if so, what were kind of the ones that maybe didn't make it to screen? Does that make sense?
There was a version where we were all going to be aliens. No, I'm just kidding. There may have been discussions. I don't think there were.
Okay.
And so it was more of thought of just, in my mind, it was always like, well, gosh, it sure would be fun to go back, and what would happen. But the only way we could go back is, of course, if David and Mark were able to find a way in. And, no one really thought it was going to happen. But I often credit the fan base of Twin Peaks, which is really, really strong. And they really, they're really immersed, I can see it here at Comic-Con, which is so much fun. And they were just continually, keeping the idea alive. There were Reddit forums and things, or, people would write to me sometimes fan letters and stuff, and just really wish that it would come back. And I'm sure David was getting the same kind of feedback. And so it never sort of completely faded away, and I think that continual, drumbeat of people, the fan base really being interested, I think in some ways really kind of, started the fire and lit the fire, I guess, for David and Mark to come back and find a way back into the next version of the series. Yeah. So it's all credit to the fans.
Great.
Yeah.
Post the return, in the return, there are so many questions brought up in the original series that get answered. But then, there are so many questions too that get brought up, new questions.
Yeah.
Who are these new people that are introduced in the show? Are there any particular mysteries from the return that you still think about these days?
That's the brilliance of David, right? That some questions are answered, but many are not. He's all about the question and less about the answer. But I think about Cooper's journey, of course, and kind of where we left him at the end of the return, and kind of what that means and where he might be, and what are the next steps, for him. But there's no answers. He is in this limbo stage, and while I think if there had ever been talk of another one, or we'd have gone further, that question may or may not have been answered. We don't know. It's David, after all. But I'm sure that we would go through a series, and then there would be more questions at the end of that one.
I love that.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's just like an itch that you continually want to scratch.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of David Lynch.
Absolutely. Well, one more Twin Peaks question before we move on from that. We reached out to some of our Popverse members to see if they had any questions for you. Stephen from Olympia wonders if you've eaten the pie at Tweed's Cafe in Roslyn, Washington, which is, of course, the basis of the Double R Diner.
Yeah. Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I made a trip. They reached out to me, actually, because they did a campaign, a Kickstarter campaign, I think, to get the original neon sign back installed up there, the new owners of Tweed's, and they were successful. And I think I sent them a little video congratulating them on doing that. So, but it lives on.
Very
cool. Lives on. Yeah.
Okay. Last question for you. It's not about Fallout or Twin Peaks. You're the original Paul Atreides on film. There is a debate in the Dune fan base on whether or not Paul Atreides is a hero or not.
Mm-hmm.
From someone who has played him, do you consider him a hero?
Of course he's a hero.
Wow, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, whether or not he's a hero, he was my hero. Ooh. Growing up. I was a huge Dune fan. I read the books when I was about 15, the first time. And then subsequently, almost yearly, I would visit that book. So when I got a call on my little Panasonic voice machine, this is back in, it was a long time ago, back in the early 80s, talking about Dune in a movie and meeting a casting person, I didn't know what, I thought someone was pranking me, because I think they knew how much I loved the books. I couldn't figure it out. Turned out to be a real thing, and that's, here I am.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Kyle, thank you so much
A
for joining
pleasure.
us here at the Pop Spot. You are such an incredibly insightful person. I can't wait to read your book.
Oh, thank you.
This was such an awesome interview. And we have a lot more interviews like it over at thepopverse.com. So if you want to see more of that, all you got to do is visit our website. Again,
Yeah.
Kyle, thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.
Have a great rest of your
Can we say pop on over
yes,
to the
absolutely.
website? Pop on over to the website.
Pop on over to the website. It says KYLE MACLACHLAN. We're just going to play that like
Oh, a
on
loop,
the
a loop.
homepage, just
Yeah.
in repeat.
Till
over-
people get sick of it.
Yeah.
Can't watch anymore. Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.